Tonight, we speak with Briana Tyson on the 9 o'clock news local edition here on Rock 93.7. She has performed not far from us. You may have seen her at the Crossville Palace. She just recently did a show there, and you've been a few other places too, haven't you?
Yeah, I play a lot in Nashville, actually. So that's kind of where I'm from. So I kind of have been all over the place in and around Nashville and the surrounding states. And
you've hit really big stages too.
I have. Actually, just recently, I was able to perform at Camden Yards for a sold-out crowd at the post-game show for the Orioles game out there, and it's been incredible.
Sports has worked out great for you. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Yeah. You've had a chance to do quite a few venues that were sports-related. I said bigger stages. You've actually opened for a couple of well-established artists, a few, not to drop names. Because I don't want to have to pick them up, but we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah.
Where would you say your music lands? How do you define it to people?
You know, I used to call myself just country, but I think my style is a lot more on the soul side of things. So I call it soul country now. It's a little bit country and a whole lot of soul.
I think I like that better than that. What's the bro country? I don't.
Yep. That's a thing now.
To borrow an old-timey expression, I don't cotton to that.
You don't cotton to that?
No.
Oh, I should start using that one.
Soul country, kind of in the realm of singer-songwriter, because you've got a few songs that you've written, and you've got some releases. We'll talk about all of that, your experiences, as we get to know more about Briana Tyson tonight on the 9 o'clock news local edition here on Rock 93.7. Originally calling California home, these days she calls Nashville home. Briana Tyson, our guest tonight on the 9 o'clock news local edition here on Rock 93.7. You have been doing music for how long?
Pretty much my entire life. My first performance was in my kindergarten talent show, and I sang a Billy Gilman song.
I was just going to ask, do you even remember what it was back then?
I do. I sang Billy Gilman, one voice, and then I did like few different talent shows. I sang like Leanne Rhymes and different things like that from the time I was about 5 years old. And then my first actual like huge performance was actually for the Los Angeles Lakers, singing the national anthem there when I was 12. So it kind of just started real quick there with the big performance.
So the singing bug bit hard, and you've just kind of followed that ever since.
Yeah.
When did the actually playing music part come in?
Well, when I was about 10 years old, I met a guy who was actually my horse trainer at the time. I've been riding horses since I was very young. And he knew a friend who had a recording studio. And so I recorded my first record and then was like, well, I need to learn how to play an instrument. So picked up the guitar about that same time. And so I put it down for a little bit because I got frustrated because I could not play a bar chord to save my life. So being a typical 10-year-old, I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to do this anymore. And then so when I was about 14, I really picked it back up. And that was when I went hard at it and really started just writing and playing out all the time and really became self-sufficient on my own on a guitar.
Any other instruments or just guitar?
Well, I can kind of dabble in the piano. I do production myself. I actually am a producer as well. So I kind of had to learn how to play a piano and a bass and, mandolin and all these little things. I'm a jack of all trades, master of none, but I can be pretty self-sufficient on quite a few different instruments. We've
got a few instruments down. We've started adding this in. We've been writing the music and performing. So you recorded, you said 14?
Yeah. I mean, well, I've recorded my first album to karaoke tracks actually when I was 10. But yeah, I'm working on my next record now, and I'm actually going to be producing that myself. So it's really exciting. Not only did I write and I'm singing and all of that on every song, I'm also going to be producing every song.
Does it put more pressure on you realizing that the final product is part of what you did from the beginning product to the end? Or?
Absolutely, because normally you depend on other people to get a good sounding song. And, if something goes wrong, you kind of like, hey, can you change this? Can you fix this? And, I can do it myself, but it's just a lot more difficult with how limited I am to kind of get exactly what I want. So it's definitely going to push me to not only get better at production, but to be better with my playing and everything else. Because I'm competing with, these huge session guys that play on all of these sessions in town. So a lot of pressure.
Makes you your biggest critic, I'm guessing?
Absolutely. I've always been my own worst critic. And, you want everything to be the best that it possibly can be. And even if someone else thinks it's the best, you're never really quite satisfied. And that's something that you kind of have to just be okay with as an artist. You always want to be better. And you're never going to be as good as you want to be. But that is also really great at the same time. It'll push you to be better.
How about if we get to one of your songs?
Okay.
Throwback.
Yeah.
Where does Throwback come from?
Well, Throwback I wrote with my buddy Bruce Wallace. We were actually both going through a situation where we had an ex that would not leave us alone. And so we started the songwriting session just kind of talking about it. And we're like, you know what? Let's just put this in a song because we're both really annoyed right now. And that's where it came from. And then me and my best friend Brett Truitt actually co-produced the track together. And it turned out really well. I love how it sounds.
It is musical therapy with Briana Tyson tonight.
Yes.
It's Throwback on the 9 o'clock news local edition here on Rock 93.7. Going from the smaller stage to the bigger stage, we're talking about different stages in the life of Briana Tyson tonight on the 9 o'clock news local edition here on Rock 93.7. You could be doing what she's doing, having a conversation with us. All you have to do is hit up our website, rock937online.com. You can use the submit your music form right there and find your way in here talking to us. You have found your way onto, as I mentioned, some bigger stages. We kind of touched on this earlier and didn't really go into it. You have had the chance to work with, and now I am going to name drop, Blake Shelton, Vince Gill, Neil McCoy, some of the more established artists in the country music scene.
Yeah.
How did you land an opening for Blake?
So that was actually a really funny story. I think I was about 13 years old. And I had won the Colgate Country Showdown up there in Northern California. And I think my dad, at the time, my parents were kind of, booking me and acting as my booking agents and manager. And my dad had gotten a contact for the Fairs and Festivals guy out there and just was relentless in getting, me to open for him. And so finally the guy was like, okay, fine, she can do it. And they ended up loving it, and it was so fun, and they helped us with some more things after that. So it was a really good thing. Thanks, Dad.
So did you get to hang out backstage with Blake? And
we did, actually. It was really, really, really fun. He was such an awesome guy, and we got to sit side stage while he was doing his show and everything. He mentioned me from the stage. I mean, it was amazing.
Well, he works with a lot of artists through the voice, gives advice in there. So did he give you any advice?
He gave me advice. It was just kind of to keep going and not give up. He had an interesting story. I mean, he dealt with a lot of people, telling him he couldn't do it. And, he kept going. And that was one thing. He was like, don't give up. Don't give up. Just keep going. So
you keep that positive light. You keep working on what you've been working on. You've written how many songs?
Oh, gosh. Around 700. Yeah, I write. I kind of technically use it as my day job, I guess you could say. I write pretty much every day.
So you've got that many songs. Are you, I won't say giving them away, but selling them off?
Well, technically, we don't really necessarily sell them off. You get a publishing deal, and then they pitch them to other artists. I'm at the point where I don't have a publishing deal yet. I'm still an completely independent artist, and I'm doing everything kind of on my own. So I have every intention of, giving my songs away at some point. If Carrie Underwood wants it, here you go, girl, you can take it. But I kind of have been doing the artist thing. So a lot of my favorite songs, I kind of keep for myself to cut on my projects.
How do you know when a song is done?
I think it's just kind of a feeling, and that there's nothing more that needs to be said in the song. Songs can I've had a song take 30 minutes. I've had a song take a year of multiple writes to finish. So it really just depends. But, when it's done, you will know that it's done because there's nothing more left to tell in that story.
What starts the process?
It's kind of a different, just jumble mess of things. Sometimes it's something a friend has said. Sometimes we'll go in me and Bruce did when we were writing Throwback, and we'll be talking about something and we'll decide to write about that. Other times it comes from just a guitar hook that someone comes and brings in. It is so random and all over the place.
But either way, it's conveying what you want to get across. So do you feel like you hit the note every time on that, or?
Songwriting is one of those things where it's hit or miss. Sometimes there's songs that you're absolutely in love with. And then other times there's songs that you probably will never play again. Not every single song that you write is going to be something that you're in love with. You, of course, try to get the best song every time, but you're not going to get it every time. which I'm glad that happens, because when you do finally get a song that you love, you're so much more excited about it.
We go back to that whole musical therapy thing
yes,
again.
Yes.
We're going to continue our conversation with Briana Tyson tonight and get into a little bit more of, you've done some sports-related stuff. Not playing it, but playing for it. We'll talk about that, too, as we continue our conversation here on Rock 93.7's 9 o'clock news, local edition. Earning the opportunity to open for artists such as Blake Shelton. We talked about that earlier. Tonight, we're talking about a lot of things with Briana Tyson on the 9 o'clock news local edition here on Rock 93.7. You've had the opportunity to do that, but you've opened for something not really traditional in the way of music. You've opened for sports teams.
Yeah.
You've done baseball. You've done, who else?
I've done baseball. I've done basketball. I've done hockey. A bunch of teams in and around California, as well as some in Arizona, and then just recently the Baltimore Orioles.
I say opening act, but really you did the national anthem, so that is kind of an opening.
I guess pretty much it is the start of the game. So, and then I normally will do the 7th inning stretch too and sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" or "God Bless America." So it's really fun. It's a blast, and I love baseball too. So that's always really fun.
I've never done that. I've never stood up in front of everyone and sang it, but I've seen plenty of artists talk about the challenges that come into doing the national anthem. And you've done over, we'll say, a couple of dozen different appearances doing this. So each time you step up to the plate, does it feel like it's going to be a swing and a miss? Or,
you know, there's only been a couple times where I've walked away and been like, oh, okay. But for the most part, your adrenaline is going so much. I'm completely nervous every single time I go up. I mean, you're singing for, this last time I sang, it was for 44,000 people. I mean, and it's quiet. They're listening to you. You're on these gigantic speakers. If you mess up, everyone is going to hear. And, you just get so caught up in the moment, and but you look back and it's never as bad as you think it is, even when you do think you mess up. So I'm just really honored to get the opportunity to even do that at all. Sometimes it doesn't go perfectly how I'd want to, because there's the big note on "free" that you have to hit. Sometimes you'll mess it up, sometimes you won't. But just the honor of singing it is really cool. And it's never as bad as you think it is when it's bad, I guess.
How much practice do you put into each performance?
Well, the song is a song that is kind of like ingrained in my brain, I guess. So the week following, if I just have like a random moment, I'll just sing the song just to kind of make sure that I'm not screwing anything up. But for the most part, it's kind of just the week leading up to it. I'll just sing it randomly and then warm up right before.
Stepping up to do that song, 44,000 people watching you do this, but you're really not seeing them as much as you're just seeing a sea of faces.
Yeah.
In a more intimate setting, you are more one-on-one with the crowd that's in front of you. Smaller venue, which one's more pressure?
Yeah, for me, I don't know. I don't really get nervous about the amount of people. I would play for 2 people and for 44,000 people. It's kind of the same to me. I know a lot of people find it a lot more filled with pressure when it's a smaller group of people, but I love performing. And I'll get nervous one way or the other. There's not really one that I feel is more pressure. A performance to me is a performance. So, it doesn't really matter how many people it's for to me personally.
Well, your guitar, I think we've established, is your security blanket. How about we let you get out your guitar and do a little song for us? You've got a personal song you wanted to share with us. Tell me a little bit about this song. It's called Jack?
Yes, it's called Jack. And I was sitting in my bed at like 2 o'clock in the morning one night thinking about my grandfather, who I never actually got a chance to meet. And his name was Jack, and he was an alcoholic. And I had heard so many stories about him and what it was like growing up with him as a dad from my dad and, my aunts and uncles. And, I thought that it was really ironic that his name was Jack. And there's a very popular whiskey called Jack. So I felt like there was definitely a song in there, so I wrote this.
Well, this is Jack. It's Briana Tyson on the 9 o'clock news local edition on Rock 93.7.
That pool hall on Second knew me by name. Daddy knew all there's to. He'd slip me bourbon under the bar, but only if I didn't tell. Moma'd get angry when we stayed out so late. Dad had too much, so I drove. But I was a kid and I didn't care, 'cause we were buddies until we got home. But I didn't know jack about who he was sober, or if he knew how to walk a straight line. Was he stronger than 90 proof whiskey? Was he weak like Corona and lime? Well, Daddy liked who he saw in the mirror. Was it heaven or hell looking back? When I didn't know Daddy, Danny didn't know Jack. I hate that I liked when the buzz hit his head, because he said things he'd only say drunk. He told me he loved me, and though it was slurred, I could make out the words just enough. And he swore that he meant it until he'd forget it when he woke up hungover in bed. But Daddy kept drinking, so I kept believing come Friday he'd love me again. But I didn't know jack about who he was sober, or if he knew how to walk a straight line. Was he stronger than 90 proof whiskey? Or was he weak like Corona and lime? Well, Daddy liked who he saw in the mirror. Was it heaven or hell looking back? When I didn't know Daddy, Daddy didn't know Jack. Didn't know jack about who he was sober, or if he knew how to walk a straight line. Did he see me there stumbling behind him? Or was there gin on his breath when he died? Does he know when I look in the mirror, there's broken pieces of him looking back? 'Cause I didn't know Daddy, Daddy didn't know
It's been a conversation this evening with Briana Tyson as we've gotten to know a little bit about her music and her experiences. You can hear this interview in the coming weeks up at our blog at rock937online.com. You stay very busy.
I do, yes.
You do a lot of performances. I think we talked about you do some stuff with Vince Gill. He's a big fan of you. Yeah,
I love Vince. He's one of the coolest guys that I've ever had the chance to work with.
He thinks highly of you. What is it he says about you?
He introduced me one time. He asked me up to go sing with him and the Time Jumpers at a very prestigious venue in Nashville. And he said, "You're going to freak when you hear her voice." So that was pretty cool coming from Vince Gill, who's a legend. I was going to say,
Vince Gill has got an amazing voice in his own right.
Oh,
and
yes.
to give that kind of praise, that's a pretty big thing. They can actually go online and check out your website. You've got a lot of stuff up there.
Yes, we do.
That is BrianaTyson.com. Now, there's one N in there. We want to clarify
one N,
that.
yes. It's Briana and Tyson like the chicken.
And you do, of course, have a Facebook page that can follow you there.
Yeah, if you just search my name or go on my website, everything is linked there. I got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all of that stuff.
How many songs do you have available up there?
I actually have some songs on iTunes. I have my last EP called Back to Me that is up on iTunes, as well as a couple like one-off singles that I've done. My single Throwback is up there as well. And on YouTube, I have my music video for a single that I did a couple years ago called Moonshine. That's available on iTunes. So I have quite a bit of music and stuff up there.
If they missed out seeing you at the Palace, do you have performances up there too? Or
I do post my performance schedule on a thing called Bands in Town that is linked on my website as well as my Facebook page. And I do post flyers and everything on pretty much all of my social networking accounts. So you guys can check out all my show dates there.
So they have no excuse for missing out on getting to see you.
Absolutely none.
Well, we appreciate you coming by to talk with us and for playing with us, too.
Thank you so much. It's been a blast.
It's been a conversation with Briana Tyson on the 9 o'clock news local edition here on Rock 93.7.